with the first pick in the NFL draft.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast. I am your host, Andrew, joined by Adam. This is the Draft Show. We are back once again with our top 10s. It's our last one, Adam. We are back with the cornerbacks. There's some really nice talent in here at quarterback, as there tends to be a lot these years, a lot of wide receivers moving to cornerback and having a bit of success. The one thing I will say about this cornerback class is injuries. Seems to be a lot of guys on my list that have at some point sustained some quite devastating injuries over their course at college. Adam, how are you feeling about the cornerback class?
I quite like the look of it. I think there's some interesting guys here. I will admit, I think that the depth is maybe not as fantastic as it has been in previous years, but I think it's reasonably solid. And I think that quite a lot of them are going to be reasonably high, like first day, day two. I think they'll be like, decent picks. So quietly optimistic about them.
We've said this about a lot of the positional rankings, haven't we? That there seems to be like one or two like really, really good, solid prospects, and then loads of just solid players after that. It's very hard. I found it very hard this year I think this is where the combine might come into play a little bit, and the Senior Bowl, that these players are so closely ranked together that you have to kind of go to something else to say, well, that's why I've got that one higher than the other, because they are so closely bunched together in my eyes. Yeah,
it does feel a little bit like that. I think the one thing that seems to be a very common phrase that is coming out now amongst a lot of the top analysts anyway, is that this isn't a draft of stars, but it's very much a draft of starters. And I think that's what you're seeing very much with the corners, actually, where, okay, you know, in fairness to them, the one blue chip player we talk about is in this particular show. But when you start going down to, like I've got number 5, number 6, number 7 that you've come up with a list. They're all starters. That they're just not stars, but they're going to be like guys that could start in the league, do reasonably well, look good maybe in like a year or two's time, but it's just they're not fantastic now.
Well, let's jump into our prospects, Adam, and see who we've got on this list. And starting us off at number 10 is Zy Alexander from the LSU Tigers, 23, 6'2", 194 pounds. Stats last year, 43% completion rate against him, 0 touchdowns given up, 2 interceptions for him. And I have it down that he only gave up 39 yards. You have it down slightly different on yours. I might be wrong. But, from all aspects on this, absolute 2024, absolute lockdown corner. LSU were in 2023, their defense was awful. I know they were looking to improve in 2024, but I feel like this guy really did have his career year in 2024 and start to be good. He transferred from Southeastern Louisiana, had a really good last year there as well. So, yeah, it's nice start to the list.
Yeah, I think this is what we mean by guys who have got the ability to start. I think he's one that does. I'm a little surprised he's 10. I think I would have had him a little bit higher, but I can understand, given who we will be talking about later on, that there is some, like you say, it is kind of a bit all over the place and there isn't really any sort of definite ranking in these guys. The one thing that I noticed predominantly from the tape is that I just think he is a great tackler. He wraps people up really, really well. He has that kind of like that wingspan and that sort of ability, that physical style that he plays with, so he can do that. Very physical at the line of scrimmage as well. I think he just reads everything really, really well, but he reads the run really well and the pass, so he's really good for that. Got decent footwork. I think there are a few things that he could improve on, but then, that's why he's here where he is in the list. 13 career interceptions, as you said. I think you're probably right with the 39-yard thing. It's like it seems like when you think about what you want now in the NFL for your corners, he is the prototypical height, weight kind of guy that you're after. So he's got a lot of good things going for him. A couple of things that I felt that he wasn't fantastic with. His top end speed is not fantastic. It's okay, and it would probably do well against some sort of like, wide receiver 3 type guys. But if he's going to be put up against the main guy who's got like, say like a Tyreek Hill, he's not going to keep up with him, sort of thing. So that sort of thing is a bit of a issue for him. He does struggle to transition a little bit when he's backpedaling. That's something I've noticed. He can sort of like just sort of off balance a tiny bit, and that's not really great. So but that's something that he can work on. And then obviously the big issue with this guy is the medical history, like you were saying with a few of these guys. In 23, he tore his ACL, so he lost a lot of time there. 24, he missed time due to a concussion for quite a while. So he has had problems, and obviously that's something that needs to be, thought about when teams decide to draft him. So I do feel like round 2 is too high for him. I think he's probably a round 3 guy myself. I think that's where he's going to be looking. I think though someone will take a punt on him because of his height and his weight, and just the fact that he is a good tackler. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be towards the end of day 2.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at it, I think you're right with everything you said. Strong tackler, great in press coverage, all things like that. Really, really good value for him in the run game. What I really liked about him as well, which is quite difficult in college and the transition into the NFL, is he avoids penalties really, really well as well.
Yeah.
I know that's a big thing for you. You always say, yeah, when they get to the NFL, it's just going to be flags galore on this guy. But I feel like this guy seems to have that sorted. He only allowed 1 catch or fewer in 6 games this year, which also led to him being the highest graded defensive back in Power 4 scores in 2024. And that's a massive accolade to have as well in your back pocket. He had a good combine. The production is great. Yes, he's had that torn ACL, which we saw, was it Caleb Farley a few years back had a torn ACL, and we saw that what that did to his stock and then his career. Another thing that I really like about this guy is before his injury, he did play a bit of safety for LSU as well. And I'm not suggesting that we move him to safety because, 6'2" and 194 pounds is perfect for a wide out cornerback. But what I like about that is it gives him another vision of the game, and he gets to read the game slightly different. So I think he's got one up on some of the guys that have just played corner in terms of reading the game and football IQ, which I think is really, really good.
Yeah, like you say, I think he's got loads of positive things about him, and he's definitely someone where, look, not everyone is going to be able to go out and get the corner 1 or 2 in this class because they're going to go pretty high. So I think because of that, you do have to sort of think to yourself, you got to look at these other guys, and this is someone who has the potential to be a starter in the league for many years to come. So he's not a bad one to get hold of at all.
In at number 9, Adam, is no one at the minute. Hang on, it's not moving to the next player. We may have to.
You've blown the machine up.
We may have to have a little look at this and see why it's not working. So in the meantime, Adam, my number 9 that I've got before I bring them up, this is the guy that before we get there, you don't think should be on the list as well, don't you?
Well, I don't know who it is. Maybe I've just put in some really horrible like voodoo through the screen, and that's why it's not working.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Right. We should be good to go. We are good to go. We are good to go, Adam. We're back in the game.
There you go.
Back in the game.
Even with technological difficulties, we still managed to get through at the franchise day. I mean, you even get different views now as well with Andrew. I mean, what more could you want? So it's like this is
all angles are what the people want. So I'll give the people what they want. Right, here we go. We're back in. So drum roll. The anticipation is there.
So Alexander's number 9.
Number 9 is Denzel Burke from Ohio State Buckeyes, 22 years old, 6'1", 193 pounds. Last year's stats, 413 yards allowed, completion percentage allowed 52%, 2 touchdowns allowed, but did get those 2 interceptions on the season. Now, Adam, I'm guessing you watched a lot of the 2024 tape and thought, I'm out on this guy. You've got to bear in mind, I watched a lot of the 2023 tape and I was really high on this guy. At the end of the year, he was projected to go into the draft and was going to be a first round pick in last year's draft. He decided to return because, like a lot of the defenders did on that Ohio State team, to try and push for a title, in which they did win. But a bit of a dip in productivity from this guy, mainly in the first Oregon game, where he gave up 8 catches for 179 yards, and the 2 touchdowns that are on there all came in that one game. I call that an off game because it never happened again for the rest of the season. I think he didn't give up any other touchdowns for the rest of the year. And I don't think he gave up more than 40 yards in any game after that as well. So he really cleaned it up. And I'm saying it was an off game for him. But there is a lot to like about this guy. And I think there's a lot of upside from him as well.
Yeah, look, it's not all bad, okay? It really isn't. He does have a lot of good things going for him. I think he's got great ball skills. I have to say, I think he's very, very good at that. His timing and his hand coordination is brilliant. So he's very good at that. He's got the quickness and the burst that you need in order to play corner and try and mirror the wide receivers that he's going up against. And he's very good in press coverage as well. So I think he's got that. Oh, and also he backpedals well. Compared to like Zay Alexander, he does backpedal pretty well, and he can. That means that his transitioning is decent. So, I'm not completely against this guy, but there are some concerns regarding him. I think his tackling is not fantastic. I think that he needs to secure the wide receiver much better, and he lacks a bit of physicality to his game. I think that is a concern with him. His footwork needs to improve. Although he's good during backpedaling, I just think that the footwork is the reason that he does kind of struggle sometimes to mirror wide receivers. So it's very it's difficult because he kind of has that. When it's weird, when backpedaling, he can do it really, really well. But when he's not doing that so much, he does struggle to mirror them. I don't think his long speed is particularly fantastic. I think it's okay, but not amazing. Struggles in man coverage, as I was saying about the mirroring. And yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of technical issues there that need sort of like cleaning up in order to be able to do something. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that there are players out there that have bad games. That it always happens, and that's fine. The problem is that if you're having a bad game at college, chances are them bad games might become more common in the NFL as you're going up in standard, and that is where the concern is with him. So, I think when you sort of throw all of them things in together, it just makes you feel like there's just too many problems or potential problems with this guy. And that's where it becomes difficult. I'm not sure where he goes, to be brutally honest. I don't think he's a day 2 guy. I think he's a day 3 guy. And I'm not sure where he goes. So, someone obviously will take him and will look at him and go, he showed a lot of promise before, and yeah, okay, it has dropped off in 24, but it's not the end of the world, and there's still a lot of things we can do with him. So it's like it's not the end at all. And I think that he could potentially turn it around and be very good in the NFL. I just don't think I'm not sure if there is the potential to be special at all.
I think there is. I think you don't go from being classed as a first round grade last year to being a 4th rounder this year. I think the level of cornerbacks last year was good as well. So to be if he'd have come out and gone in the draft, he would have been a first round pick. And I think maybe this is where me and you might have been watching a bit of a different game to him, because I think he is very physical. I think the long speed is there, and I think he's a very good athlete as well. So I think because I've watched so much more of him, I'm seeing a different thing to you, seeing a smaller snapshot of him. I think maybe that's what's clouding my judgment on him. And, you know, the NFL and yourself are right, and we should be lower on this guy. And I'm just remembering what I saw.
Remembering the good old days.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he's had a bit of an up and down season, but you can't take away from how good he was previously. So, you know, I don't think up and down year, because it wasn't an awful year. It wasn't terrible. I think he had 2 really good solid years. It's just not as good as what we expected from him based on the year prior. So I think he maybe goes in the 3rd round now because of that for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think that it's, you know, the idea of him being a 3rd round pick isn't like, oh my God, that's way too high. So I can completely understand that. Just for me, I just don't. I just feel like that sort of, some of these guys look like they're starters and could potentially become very, very good starters that are in the league for many years. I'm not sure I see that with this guy.
I have been wrong about Ohio State.
Many things. Yeah, we know. Don't worry.
In at number 8 is Azariah Thomas from Florida State Seminoles, coming in at 6'2", 198 pounds, 141 yards against him, 52% completion rate against him, 0 touchdowns given up, and 1 interception to his name. Adam, this guy's been rising up boards rapidly, and as closer and closer we get to the draft, we've seen him in round 1 in a lot of NFL analysts' mock drafts. I'm not super high on this guy, as I've got him at 8. There's a few concerns I've got with him, but why do you think people are so high on him, and are you high on him as well?
I think he's a very athletic corner, isn't he? That's definitely why, you know, he has length and twitchiness, and he's the perfect size for the position. I think his mirroring of the wide receiver is really, really good. He does that very, very well. He's only going to be 20 years old on draft night. So, you know, 21 when he starts the season. He's a real physical, competitive kind of corner. And I think that because of all of that, especially the athleticism, you've probably seen a guy test quite well at the combine, and people have come out and gone, quite like the look of him. Not necessarily on certain things, but just as an overall prospect, I think they probably thought this guy looks pretty good. I'm not 100% sold, a bit like you, I have to say. I think that his tackling technique is not particularly great. When he gets beaten, he gets very grabby and is really, and gets caught out on that as well. And especially that happens a lot during, if it's a vertical route. So you see that's a real problem for him. I'm not, like I say, I'm not overly sold. The idea of him being a 1st round pick for me is way too high for him. I think 2nd round is probably fair, but I think for me, I would want to be seeing a team towards the back of the 2nd taking him when it comes to value.
Yeah, I understand. Obviously, that Florida State Seminoles team was terrible last year. It was really, really bad. And he was a shining light on that defense. So that is reason to have a look at him and go into it a bit more. He didn't run a 40 at the combine, but he did everything else. And then he did run a 40 at his pro day. It came in at a 4.58. If he'd have done that at the combine, it would have been the 2nd slowest of everybody that did it. So I do worry that, is he so grabby on those vertical routes because he's struggling to keep up with the faster wide receivers? And that's a big concern. And his footwork definitely needs a lot of tidying up. So speed and footwork as a cornerback for me, I think he's relying too much on the fact that he's a big physical guy over what I'd say is the more modern cornerback of the more athletic and quick guys. So that's my real concern with him. I'm also concerned as a guy as big as he is with the frame that his technique in press isn't fantastic as well. So there's just a few things that are niggling me, but shining light on a team that was terrible. That's something to take away from it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind like I said, I kind of agree with the whole sort of thought of that. That the concern is the fact that he struggles with the speed and he does kind of get very grabby. That is a real issue for him, and I think because of that, that's going to show up quite quickly. I would have thought in the NFL, what if he ends up going up against anyone who's got any sort of like speed? So that's a real problem. But yeah, I think he'll probably be like a corner 2 for a lot of teams. I don't see him as being anyone's main guy, but yeah, I think someone will just look at the athleticism and think that and the age and think that they will be able to mold him, and so therefore I think he will go in the second round.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can knock him down almost as one of those raw talents that we've kind of spoke about before, that there's room for him to grow. And, he didn't give up any touchdowns this year on a team that was terrible, like I said. So there is a lot to like about him. I don't want to be too down on him. I've got him at number 8 above 2 people that I really like. So, I'm not saying this isn't saying he's bad. It's just I'm not as high, and I just wanted to put my points across of why I'm not as high as some of the other people. But in at number 7, Adam is number 9. It's a bit of a calamity. It's the last one. I've got it all wrong. It's Javon Revel from East Carolina Pirates, 22 years old, 6'3", 193 pounds last year, 203 yards conceded, 41% completion rate against him, 1 touchdown conceded, and 2 interceptions to his name. Adam, this guy, I believe he was listed, everyone likes to talk about it, on the freaks list because of how much of an athlete is, former track and field background. Adam, you quite like this guy, don't you? I know you've got him in your mock draft in the first round. A lot of people had him before the season started as a first round, and then I think his injury has kind of moved him down a hell of a lot. It's another one. Look, we're saying again, injury to cornerback.
Yeah, I think, look, this guy is going to get a lot of hype because of the athleticism. That is what he's all about. He's got great speed, physically a very gifted player, superb recovery speed as well. That's a massive thing that shows up on the tape. Physically a very strong tackler, willing to go up against anyone. So he's got all of them really good, exciting physical traits about him, and so I think because of that, you're going to see the hype for him. Personally, I actually think in reality he's more likely to be very early second round than first round. I think that's probably what we're really dealing with here. Now, the reason I say that is that despite all of them fantastic things that he has, there are some really big issues here. He's really only had 1 year of high level production. He's only played 880 snaps. So he's very sort of like inexperienced in that respect. And technically he's actually quite raw, like when it comes to certain things. He tore his ACL, obviously, in 2024, which is a big concern. I feel like sometimes he guesses wrong is probably the way to put it, where he kind of like he has that physicality, so he thinks to himself he can right, I think they're going there, so he goes there, and then his logic is, well, I can make it back because of how quick I am and the physicality that I have. To a certain degree, it's good that he has that physicality, but that shows that he's not processing the game very well because he's making wrong decisions all the time. So that's another concern. On another one that is an issue is that really a lot of his routes that he's run have been pretty basic when you actually look at them. It's quite a low level competition that he's been playing at. And so there is that concern as well. So there's a lot of concerns here. However, he's, as you say, he is kind of like this athletic freak type guy. And a lot of people will just overlook all of them concerns and go, yeah, but once he's healthy and once we've coached him a little bit, we can get all of that out of him and he's going to be amazing. So I really do think he's very early second round. I wouldn't be shocked if he went first round at all, but I wouldn't want my team to be taking him first round. Let's put it that way.
I think only if we're two actual pure, we'll call them pure cornerbacks because there's obviously a name in there that people don't know whether he's cornerback or wide receiver.
Yeah.
Go in the first round for me. I think that's about where it should be. A lot of people say, Eastern Carolina Pirates, small school, didn't play against many big teams. I do think he had a really, really good game in 2023 against Michigan. I know they lost the game quite heavily, but I feel like he played well against them and definitely showed that he could have transferred in 2024 if he desired. Probably got a good stock and gone to one of the bigger schools if he wanted to. So a bit unsure why he didn't do that. So he's obviously loyal, which is another tick in the book for him. It is also, you said it, the ACL injury that he had. So those stats there in 2024 are across 3 games. So not as impressive as what you might first look at when we've looked at some of the other guys' stats already. But yeah, absolute freak athlete. So yeah, that always trumps most cards. We've said that quite a bit through a lot of this process. In at number 6, Adam, we have Trey Amos from the Ole Miss Rebels, 23 years old, 6'1", 190 pounds last year, 280 yards conceded, 51% completion rate against him, 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions for him. Started his career off at Louisiana, moved to Bama, struggled to get first team reps at Bama because he was behind Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid McKinstry. So he transferred to Ole Miss, which a lot of people did, and really exploded onto the scene. Had an absolute career in that one season. He had 10 pass breakups along with those 3 interceptions as well. First team All SEC, Adam. I really like this guy. I think he's great.
Yeah. This is the one who, I like to stick a flag on one corner every year. This is very much my Drew Phillips for this year, I think. He has his spatial awareness and more importantly, his anticipation is special. It really is. He's a good tackler. He's got great recovery speed. His timing is pretty much spot on. He's a physical guy. He's more than happy to get involved in the sort of, roughness of the game. He's confident and he can pretty much play in any type of coverage that you want him to do. He processes incredibly well. It's almost like he sees what's coming before it started. And he just matches the wide receiver movement so well with like his anticipation. He's got many things going for him. And actually, for me, it wouldn't shock me at all if he was a first round pick. It really wouldn't. I think that this is I know what you were saying about there only really being 2 like out and out corners if we're not going to include Travis Hunter. But I do think based on where teams are in the draft, I think there's a couple of teams that might go corner towards the back of the draft. And I think that he's the one that for me would make the most sense to go with, because he's not bad at anything. He's pretty much good at everything, and then special in a couple of things. I do feel like he's not the fastest. I feel like, you know, there is that about him. Not that he could be faster, he just isn't the fastest kind of thing. And I think that he needs to improve his tackling specifically against bigger opposition, because when he tries to do that, his balance does go a bit off at times. But apart from that, I feel like he's got most of it pretty much spot on for what you need. And he kind of, to me, I saw a bit of James Bradbury in him. That's who I saw. So I think we've got a starter in the league for a long time here.
Yeah, I think this is one of the first guys we're talking about that can definitely be an all-down cornerback. By that I mean, you know, he can be used in zone, he can be used in man, he can be used in the run game. I think there's a lot of guys prior to this that struggle at one of them, don't they? And you might not want to leave them on the field for every single snap based on the player. Yeah. Whereas this guy, I think you're leaving him on and out there for every single one. So I think that's why I've got him highly ranked above the others. And he is one of the names that, you know, like you say, when you get towards the back of the first and you go in, they need a cornerback. Cornerback's what they need. The big names have already gone. Who would I go there? And he's the name that always comes to mind when I'm going late round first. That would probably be the guy, but I'm just not sure where. I always chicken out of putting it in because I think there's better value at other positions, and I go, yeah, nah, I'm gonna push him out. But he is a name that I have rumbled around putting in at the back of the first when it has come to it, but I've never pulled the trigger on it. So that's where I'm at with him in terms of standard.
Yeah, I would not be upset if the Packers went for him at 23 at all. You know, they need a corner. I wouldn't be upset if they went for it, because I think that I think it would be considered a reach before him, but I would say it's a position of need, and that he is very, very good and could become special. So it's worth it.
In at number 5 is Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 21, 6 foot, 190 pounds. Last year, 125 yards against him, 44 completion % against him, no touchdowns, no interceptions. That was mainly because he was injured for a little bit. He had the very serious hip injury that's put him out for quite a long time. I don't know whether it's out of sight, out of mind, that people have forgot about how good he was when he was on the field, or whether it is the hip injury that is people are going, that's a big concern for me. That's not a small injury. But, you know, prior to that, 9 interceptions, 19 pass breakups, 61 solo tackles for his career. He's definitely got the skills there, Adam. Is it just injury concerns with this guy, or is it more than that?
I think the injury concern is a big factor in this, and I think it's probably quite a legitimate concern, actually, because of the way that he plays. He's very sort of like, he twists and turns a lot, and that's going to be a problem for someone who's just had major hip surgery, sort of thing. You know, that is a big issue here. So I can completely understand why teams are a bit concerned. There are some other areas as well. I don't feel like he's the strongest. I feel like he lacks a bit of strength at times, and because of that, he struggles against larger receivers. That's something that I felt like I saw on the tape. So it's not 100% just about the hip surgery, but I think the hip surgery is a massive concern for a lot of teams. And I think because of that, I've kind of got him as a second round guy. I don't think anyone's going to take a punt on him at first. He does do some things incredibly well. He mirrors receivers very, very well. He's got that sort of short area quickness that a lot of corners don't necessarily have. So he does that. He's great for that. Really good ball skills. I think he's very good at that, and that's something that's probably, a lot of this has probably been missed because we just haven't seen that much of him in such a long time. Really good timing, quick feet, versatile in scheme. Yeah, I mean he's got loads and loads of things going for him. He really does. But the hip surgery for a corner, and certainly a corner who plays in the way that he plays as well, it is pretty concerning. And so I think it's going to take a team to be very, very happy with the medical reports to take him.
Yeah, I think without the injury concerns, I might have had him at 4. I might have had him a spot higher than where he's at.
Yeah.
I did really, really like him. Do you think there's any chance that we might see this guy slide even further out of the second due to this?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's happened before, hasn't it? Where players who have medical issues and basically the whole NFL just come out and go, no, thank you. You know, it's like it's entirely plausible that that could happen. I don't think I think someone will take a punt on him, but I do feel like there will be a bit of a slide. I would hope that someone maybe he will drop through the second and end up in the third round, and someone comes out and goes, well, that's great value for him, and that's where they take him. Maybe that's what ends up happening with Morrison, but it would be a shame if it did. But I think that because the cornerback class this year, like I say, there's quite a lot of starters here, and we've come up with 10 basically, we're saying, of starters on day one. I think because of that, it does make you feel like maybe teams will be more willing to let him go down maybe a little bit more, because they can come out and go, oh, we can get, I don't know, like Trey Amos, or we can get Azariah Thomas, and we feel like we can do something with these guys. Whereas for this one, we're not 100% sure if he's actually going to be fit to play. So yeah, maybe I could see him dropping because of that.
The only thing he's got on his side is we've already mentioned 2 others that have had ACL injuries.
Yeah.
And there's another guy that has had injuries as well on the list. So, the only other thing he's got is other people are injured. So why not take a punt on him over them? Because when he's on the field, he is fantastic and very good in a lot of areas, which is what you need. But in at number 4, Adam, we have Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky Wildcats, 21 years old, 6'1", 186 pounds. Last year, 262 yards against him, 54% completion rate, no touchdowns again, and 1 interception to his name. Adam, he, in the 2023 season, which is when I first noticed him, had 5 interceptions, which led the SEC. He had a great combine. He also had a great Senior Bowl as well. He had 7 games played. He had a shoulder injury. He has a track and field background, and he is a former wide receiver. Adam, I know you really, really liked Drew Phillips last year. I think Valentine's from there as well, isn't he? That's from Kentucky. They're becoming a bit of a school to watch for cornerbacks, aren't they? Is he the next big one?
Yeah, I think he probably is. It's funny actually with Hairston, because I think a lot of people had him as like a 3rd round pick, and then the whole draft process happened, and he did very well at the combine. He did very well at the Senior Bowl. So yeah, I think he's got a lot of things going for him, and I think the 2nd round is probably about right. I don't think I don't think I'd have him as a 1st round pick.
Seen him sneak into the 1st round.
Yeah, I've seen it as well. I don't think it's really where he should be. I think he's obviously got great speed. We saw that with the combine and stuff like that. He's got great speed. He's an okay tackler. He isn't fantastic, but he's pretty solid at it. He's got the burst. He's got fluid hips and can change direction really well. Really good against zone. That was something that I noticed when he was playing against zone. He was really good, but when he was going up in man coverage, it wasn't so great. And I felt like with that physicality, he kind of didn't quite do amazing at that one. But he's competitive. He wants to have a go. He's just a little bit, it's almost like the frame is a little bit lean. It's almost like the strength isn't quite there compared to some others. So I think he kind of struggled in man a little bit because of that. And yeah, I just think he in general needs to improve his tackling, which, you know, like I say, he's an okay tackler, but he's not amazing. I kind of saw a lot of sort of not obviously not up to this level, but I kind of saw bits of Jair Alexander in him actually, and like I could see that about him and sort of feel like, yeah, I could see that this guy goes second round and that he's got the speed to be able to sort of like make plays. And I felt like he's one of them sort of like corners who's always watching the ball kind of thing. And so that's very sort of like Jair Alexander, and it's I just kind of felt that like that about him. But yeah, got lots of good things going for him. He is a bit lean with the frame and lacks a bit of strength, so he kind of needs to put a bit of strength on, I would say. But he's not too far off, and yeah, I think he could be very good, and he could be another, like you say, another one of these Kentucky players at corner who look like they're just churning out starters for the league.
Yeah, I think he's the prime example that I was alluding to at the start of the show of. He had the production at college. He was great in the SEC for his team. So the production is there. He had a great combine. That's another tick, another, you know, that's something to, and the Senior Bowl. So if you want to say, you know, Kentucky, although it's SEC, isn't one of the big guys, the Senior Bowl, I thought he was excellent because he didn't play in the game. He just did all the drills. I thought he was excellent in the one-on-one drills that he did, which would prove that he is good at man coverage as well. I know, like, you've addressed it as an area he needs to improve in, but I thought those drills really showed he can do it. So I kind of went,
I think he did well in that. I don't think he did well when he was in tape. He didn't come across great.
It's just one of those things that I'm saying. I'm trying to split hairs between this big field of people, and I'm going, well, he showed me he can do it in that. So I'm going to give him another tick. You say he thrives in zone, and I thought he was a reliable tackler, is the word I used for him. So I just thought, you know, you say he's a bit lean and a bit smaller, but I do feel like this is the way cornerbacks are going in terms of, you know, there's a lot of guys that are a bit smaller, that have got that bit more explosiveness about them. I think the fact that he is a former wide receiver also lets him read the routes really well as well. So I think there's lots to really like about this guy. And I think with playing with a shoulder injury through some of those games as well, maybe your tackling isn't going to be as strong. But yeah, I think this guy could be another steal, another find. He's going to go a lot higher than Drew Phillips, but I think they're putting themselves on the map.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they've really made a thing about it, haven't they, with corner as well. They do seem to be doing really well with that, and yeah, I agree. I think he's got a real potential to be something pretty good in the NFL. So yeah, look, it should be good to see if he does become a starter for a long time.
In at number 3, Adam, is Jahdae Barron, from Texas Longhorns. He's 23, 5'11", 200 pounds. Last year gave up 279 yards, 53% completion rate against him. No touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Adam, he's played in 2023 as a predominant slot corner. And that was when they were playing Big Ten football, and people said he had a really nice season, and he got onto one of the, I can't remember if it was first team or second team Big Ten at the end of the year. Then they moved to the SEC, and they moved him out wide in 2024. And then they move him out wide, and he wins the Jim Thorpe Award, which is for the best cornerback. You know, real physical guy. Texas love to play zone as well. Adam, he didn't win the Jim Thorpe Award for nothing. He's been absolutely standout for them all year. Are you high on this guy? I think he's incredible. Easy round 1. Easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got him as a first round grade, definitely, and I think he's got He's got pretty much everything that you want. There are a couple of issues that I felt with him. He is a little bit small when it comes to his height, and so that does show up when you're going up against big wide receivers. So that is a bit of a concern. I think his top speed is not elite, but it's still very good. It's not an issue. And he does get a little bit grabby at times, well, especially going up against them big wide receivers. So there is that concern with him. However, despite all of that, I think he's a great reader of the game. Really, really good. Processes incredibly well. Very good tackler, something that maybe isn't thrown at him as much as it should be. Very good. Really wraps up guys. He's got that sort of physicality about him, which means he's got the strength to be able to bring them down as well. Got really strong hands and is more than happy to get involved with that side of the game. Really good ball skills. Like you say, he's played slot, but he's played out wide as well, can do it in both. I actually think he plays a bit bigger at the catch point. It's like, although he is 5'11", I think he does play a bit bigger. It's just that when he goes up against them, I'm talking like Mike Evans sort of type of size guys, that's when it becomes a problem. His recovery speed is brilliant. He's got no problems with that. And I think he's decent in man coverage, and I think he's elite in zone. He really is. I think he's very, very good at that. And first round grade all the way. Reminded me of Jonathan Jones a little bit. That was the one that I saw from him, and would love him at the Packers. He will not go that far. I think someone would take him before.
I think he's gone before that. I know you've just recently done a mock draft with a group of other people. I think you managed to get him and he fell to him. Yeah, it's funny that you bring up the how good he is at tackling, because he actually had 90 defensive stops, which is tackles for either 0 or minus. So it's like that. That's really, really high and really strong as well. I thought, he's really, really good. And which is what his high IQ for football is he's really good at baiting the quarterback and making them throw it where he wants them to. And he tends to always be where the ball is going, which I really, really like. May not always get it, but he tends to be where it is going, which shows a good understanding of routes and where quarterbacks are going to go. So I think that's really, really good. He also had 9 pass breakups as well on top of those stats that he's got there with the 5 interceptions. It's just a fantastic season and a much deserved Jim Thorpe award. So yeah, we don't think he's going to get to the Packers. So that's how high he's going to go. Adam, what is the highest you think he could go?
I think the highest that he could Arizona makes sense at 16. They need a corner. I'm just sort of thinking if you think of the other guys.
I think 13 to the Dolphins. I know they need help at safety and various other places. But
yeah, I'm just thinking. Well, they need help at O-line now, big time, with Terry and Armstead retiring. So yeah, he could possibly go there. I think for me, a team that I would come out and say is corner needy would be Arizona at 16. I'm just thinking because you'd think that the spoiler, Will Johnson, next one coming up, that he would go before that. So yeah, I would say 16 is probably about as high. Maybe the Colts possibly if they, but they're not. You would expect them to go somewhere else. So yeah, I think Arizona is probably the most kind of logical choice.
Do you think there's a possibility anybody would trade up for him as well? Do you think?
Well, we love a trade. We could potentially do something crazy and go for him. I think to be honest, this is something that you're gonna, not necessarily relate to corners, but for the whole of the first round, I actually don't know if there's going to be many trades in this year's draft, because I don't know if you really need to, because you've got starters probably all the way through And like I say, although they're not necessarily first round talent or what you would perceive as first round talent, they're all starters. So I just wonder whether people will stick and just take the position, because a lot of teams have sort of like obviously have multiple different positions that they need help at. So
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for your Green Bay Packers landing him. I think that's a great spot for him. So let's keep that in the ethos for him. In at number 2, Adam, is Will Johnson from the Michigan Wolverines, 22 years old, 6'2", 202 pounds, 183 yards against him, 45% completion percentage against him, no touchdowns given up, 2 interceptions. Also, those 2 interceptions, Adam, they both went for pick sixes as well. I don't know if you know that. One against USC, one against Iowa. Again, another guy that we can say injuries again. I think, there's a possibility without those injuries, he's probably number 1 on this list. Outside of who is number 1, I've been saying he is the best pure cornerback just on cornerback talent as well. So lots to love about this guy. Again, are the injury concerns too much for you? I had him as a top 10 pick originally. Lots of people, he's dropped a hell of a lot since the process. Is that another thing out of mind?
yeah, I think so a little bit. I mean, I don't feel like the injury concerns are really causing a massive drop for him here. I think it's like, I think if you have him valued as a top 10 guy, then obviously it is. But I still feel like there's a chance that he could be a top 10 pick here. And that there are teams like, say, like the Saints who are sitting at 9. I mean, like you could argue corner is somewhere that they need to go. And if they don't go quarterback and they just go, well, we got Derek Carr, we got Spencer Rattler behind him, we'll go and focus on other positions. So, corner would make a lot of sense for them. So I don't think that he's completely out of the possibility of being a top 10 pick. I just think that there are other players that have sort of come to the fore in different positions that have pushed him down a little bit more than anything else. I think he's got his great size. I think his height and also the fact that he's got that strength behind him with the 202 pounds. I think that's great. And so that's exactly what you want from corner, because it means that he can be that physical guy who fights and has the ability to sort of like go up against these bigger wide receivers, but also has not, he doesn't have amazing long speed, but he still has decent long speed, which means he can go up against these smaller guys as well. So he is a bit more of an all-rounder who can go up against everything. I think he backpedals really, really well for a guy of his size. He really does. So he does that great, tracks the ball really well, strong tackler as well, really good at that. Versatile in pretty much any scheme. So yeah, he's got loads and loads of things going for him. I do think he needs to improve in press coverage. He relies on his athleticism too much, and it's just more his technique that he kind of lets him down a little bit. And he hasn't played man coverage. Like they don't play it at Michigan, and so that's obviously not a concern, but it's just something where it's a little bit like, well, we don't know if he can do it because he's never done it. So that's something. But yeah, I mean, first round pick all day, has the potential to be a top 10 guy. I think I don't know. I think he might fall out of the top 10 just because I think other positions will be valued and players will be valued more than him. But if you want to do like a ranking of players and forget the quarterbacks sort of thing and do your top 10 guys for talent, I think he should be in there.
Yeah, you mentioned his size as well. He moves so well for such a big guy with a big frame as well. He's another guy as well that's really good in baiting the quarterback and has good ball skills as well. Defensive MVP in the championship game in 2023 as well. And also, he scars me to this day of the play where he steps in front of Marvin Harrison Jr. to to get the victory against Ohio. So he's been up against some big names and had some success as well, and reads the game really, really well. So I'm very high on this. I think in my first mock draft I did at the start of this whole process before the combine, right as soon as the college season finished, I had him as high as 5. I had him going to the Jags. I thought the Jags is perfect fit for him. I still think the Jags are a perfect fit for him. It's just when you look at who's being picked 1, 2, 3, 4 at the minute.
Yeah.
There's another guy from the same school that screams out you probably take him as well. But I do think he's good enough to go to the Jags at 5.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the talent is there, that he is a top 10 guy. And so the idea of him going at 5 shouldn't be shocking. It's just that the problem is like you say, it's about what teams really need and who is available. And I think because of that, he's going to get pushed down a bit.
In at number 1, no shock, Travis Hunter from the Colorado Buffaloes, 21 years old, 6'1", 185 pounds. Last year gave up 212 yards, 55% completion rate against him, 1 touchdown against him, 4 interceptions for him. Adam, Heisman Trophy winner, AP and SN College Player of the Year, the Bednarik Award winner, which is for the best defender, the Bolitnikoff Award winner for best wide receiver. I think he was snubbed for the Thorpe Award. It wasn't even in the running for it. He's first team All-American. I've got him there in the Heisman Trophy pose. I won a lot of money on him because I bet on him to win it at 50-1. Adam, this guy not only is a lockdown corner, is equally, like I said, the Bolitnikoff Award was the best wide receiver as well. We think it's easier for him to play full-time corner and blend in a little bit of wide receiver. So we left him off the wide receiver list and we put him on the cornerback list as cornerback 1. Is that the right decision to do? Is he a unicorn? Is he a blue chip player? And how high is he going?
I personally think he's going number 2, which is unfortunate for him, really, isn't it? Look, I think, yes, he is a blue chip player. I suppose he is a unicorn because he's playing both sides of the ball and no one else is doing it. So it looks like this is what he wants to do. If he does go number 2, which makes a lot of sense, then he will be on a Cleveland Browns team that has very little depth at wide receiver. And to be honest, I think he's probably going to be the number 1 corner on the team as well. So they are a little bit better at corner, but I still think he'd be the better guy to be out there playing. So I think that there's probably a very strong chance that he does end up playing both sides. It's Cleveland though, isn't it? So it's going to go wrong because that's what they do. But yeah, I think he's got, as you say, all of them awards that he's won. He's got everything about him that you want. His mirroring of wide receivers is exceptional. He's got great ball skills, which is why he can play both sides incredibly well. His route running and his processing is great. I love the fact that he's patient in press coverage, but he has the speed to be able to, he can wait and then he can go. He's brilliant at that. Obviously, ridiculous conditioning and sort of like competitiveness and physicality to be able to play both sides of the ball, and just an incredibly smart player who he's just watching quarterbacks and baits them into making the wrong move. I think that technically he could become better. He relies on his athleticism too much, but I understand why he does it. But yeah, I think technically he could become a little bit better. And obviously he is a little bit small when it comes to his weight. It's not anything serious, but when you look at some of these other guys who are like 195 pounds, I think that's more the sort of prototypical type of size you want for your cornerback. So he does have that concern. He does get pushed around by bigger guys sometimes, but he's got that sort of competitiveness to try and make up for it. The only thing I would say is that when he does go up against a bigger guy, and when he went up against Ted McMillan was a prime example of this. You'll like the little pun there. Was that he does get grabby, and that is the concern. But he's got so many special traits about him that most of them concerns will just go out the window, and he should be the number 2 guy.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about the Ted McMillan, and also when they played against Stanford and he went up against Iomanor as well.
Yeah,
famously, people talk about that, don't they? So, yeah, there is that concern, but yeah, the play you're getting is just unbelievable. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just before we log off and go, Adam, do you think there's any chance that the Browns take him at 2, Shador slips, and the Browns trade back up into the first and take Shador and Travis Hunter?
I think they take Travis at 2. I think they would be mad not to. And when I sort of think about it, I think to myself, there's the Giants at 3, which I don't think they'll do it. It feels like it's trending away from that. There's the Saints at 9, who could go for Sanders, but again, I don't see it. I just don't see him doing it. And then obviously you've got the Steelers at 21. And who the hell knows what's happening there, like with Rodgers. So you could be looking at the Steelers at 21. However, I actually think there's a very strong chance that they end up with both of them. Because if he doesn't go to any of them 3 teams, I don't see who takes it. So if I was the Browns, you're probably not going to do it with the Steelers for obvious reasons. But if you can get a team that's like willing to trade with you in the sort of like low 20s to come out of the first round, because they're right at the beginning, aren't they? They're not the number 1 pick in the second round, but I think they're like, is it 1 or 2? Are they the number 1 pick in the second round? Okay. So that kind of makes you feel like that's a pretty good spot for you to be able to come back in and get your quarterback. And yeah, I just don't know who else wants a quarterback.
They could probably get up to 24 with the
Vikings. The Vikings feel like a very logical team to trade out. That makes a lot of sense. So I could see that happening.
Well, that's our cornerbacks all done. We were going to, I ummed and ahed about doing a best of the rest, so we could talk about the 2 safeties that are really good and the 1 linebacker that's really, really good. But that would be a very, very short show. But that is everything. We've done them all. We've got a mock going to be doing out soon. And then we'll do our actual official franchise tag mock draft. And then it'll be the draft. It's only just over, what is it? Just over 2 weeks? 2 weeks away? 2 weeks today now, isn't it?
It's 2 weeks today.
So, yeah, lots of excitement. So, looking forward to it. But hope you've enjoyed our top 10s and stay tuned for much more. So, see you again and keep it with the franchise tag.